I think one of the interesting stories to tell is with our senior level field supervisors. These are guys that are very entrenched in process and old ways of doing things, and they're the guys that basically dictate our field operations, well work things on a day-to-day basis. And to tell them they're going to go into a process and talk to someone named Pixie to ask them for information is quite a big sell. It's been amazing to see how well they've adapted to it and how thrilled they are to sit on a location, be able to ask Pixie anything about well histories, about that particular well, about projects, about what are forecasts, what are production goals, what is the cost currently, what is the historical footprint of that well, right from a smartphone sitting on location. And that's probably been the biggest example I can give of how people have adopted and bought in on the technology, is when you see it down to the well level and the field personnel level. That it's really pretty gratifying. So we always discuss efficiency with people and data management, but an example of more of a project level operating margin profitability type project. Many of the fields that we operate use an unbelievable amount of power, and as we all read in the newspaper or online every day, electricity and power are going to be one of the big demands in the future. So, we're pretty convinced that every oil company, big or small, needs some type of internal power solutions model group or plan to manage those resources going forward, because it really is a one-to-one relationship to margin and profitability for a lot of these properties. So one of the things we approached the MangoBytes group about is we had an idea in our mind of how do we manage these power costs with some of these older fields and various types of wells that produce in each of these fields. And these are fields that are characterized where the electricity costs can be 40-50% of the overall operating expense of the property. And as we all know, through rolling blackouts and storms and things like that the cost of power can spike. It can move. It can be up or down. In the heat of the summer, it can be quite expensive. In the fall, when things are more mild, it can be more relatively priced. And that does affect our bottom line day to day when our power bill varies from month to month and day to day. So what we are doing as part of our power management solution is we have created a process where the MangoBytes can access a power database that provides us costs on a 5-minute increment basis. And then we can filter the wells with any specific field to highly profitable, mid, and then highly sensitive wells to power. And so as power prices can spike during the summer days or things, we can selectively use that data and filter those wells and shut those wells in at a moment's notice as we see power spikes, and turn back on when the power gets back more reasonable. And it sounds like a simple solution, but reacting and filtering the wells and performing the shut-ins and startups on a timely basis was really the challenge. And by writing an algorithm that goes all the way down to our field guys, they can get alerts on their cell phones. They can shut wells in on their cell phones and manage our profitability month over month of many of these wells based on that technology. And that's kind of a game changer for us, because in any one month we can have one power spike over a few days that can knock our profitability on a property down 20 or 25% for the month. So it's really critical, and it's one of those additive things that we like to have, and now we have it. So some of the processes that we looked at when we took our first step into the AI arena is regulatory. We spent a lot of time filling out forms. As everyone knows in our business, the regulatory websites aren't the most friendly sometimes, and we were able to come up with a convention that allows data to come specifically from one of our systems into our regulatory forms, and it saves a lot of time and more makes our regulatory personnel feel like they're more of a facilitator than just a data entry clerk on a day-to-day basis, and they can spend more time solving problems rather than just doing data entry. So that's one. And then, the other is just pretty simple dashboard profitability, the things as managers we want to see day to day, month to month, that we don't need to spend a huge amount of time regurgitating out of our accounting system. It's building a report that's more concise, that's consistent month over month, that gives us the indicators that we want to see, and to have that available 24/7 at your fingertips is really a big deal for me. And that was one of the areas that I wanted the team to focus on, is create things for myself that were usable, and where I was spending time trying to source and search data. The interaction has been probably one of the more beneficial attributes to the process. There's things that I never thought AI might be able to do from my background that are actually pretty doable. And there's things that we didn't think of necessarily as additive type processes that they were more familiar with. So I always hate using the word collaborative, but it has been, and that's been critical. We've had field trips, we've had just interviews with personnel that have actually spun out some new applications that I probably wouldn't have thought of if it was just left to me as the CEO to say, this is what I want to do. And that's been extremely helpful. And one of the things about this is a little bit the unknown of every time we take another step toward a process, we kind of think of new things to add to that process. So we haven't even approached really the potential that I think it can help our business with. We're very much in the growth mode as far as adding some of these technologies into our platform. But like I said, we've done an incredible amount of adoption of process since we started. But I think the staff would even support the statement that I think there's even more to do than we've done already. And that's a little bit refreshing and a little bit of a challenge at the same time. When we formed our partnership with MangoBytes, is it allowed us to, one, take steps at our speed into the process, to be an active participant in the order of things we want developed, the things we want included into the AI model, and let our staff weigh in on what some of those things are that help them the most. And that's been really critical, because I think believability of data, believability in the models and the process is so important to adopting this technology. And we've been able to achieve that in a pretty short time. That's been really, really critical toward doing that. And I think anytime you can involve the staff and have buy-in from the staff toward a new process, and one that can be a little intimidating, such as AI, it is a huge win. And it's a very, very necessary step to making this change in this technology work for our solutions.